Time with family and friends. We've had our mission trip team from Soulfire students in Chicago, and they got back last night. How many of you guys are here? I saw a couple. I know there's a couple right here. There's one right there. PD's back this morning briefly. We're going to have him get up and give a little update from the mission team here in just a few minutes, so you get to hear a little bit about how their week went, and thank you for praying. And supporting, encouraging them, providing the things that they needed as they headed out last week. So we're excited for them and glad they're back safely today as well. I want to hit a few announcements. First, foremost, we have a new addition to the Oakwood family. Greg and Sandy McDonough. Greg is one of our elders and is the new director of Soulfire Ministry. Now, they just had another baby this week. Lucy Noel McDonough was born. So we're excited to meet them. I'm sure they're not here this morning. Greg and Sammy, it's a big transition for them as they're also taking on some new roles of leadership here at Oakwood. So keep praying for their family. Let's look for ways to bless and encourage them as their family grows too. But look for pictures if you're online. They've been posting some of those out on Facebook and stuff too, and I'm sure we'll see them here at Oakwood soon. But that's an exciting time as always. There's lots of things going on. We've been hitting a lot of them the last few weeks, so that has been a tougher time. But the women, there's a couple of events coming up. There's the Flip Flop Faith and Friends event coming up on Thursday, July 20th. There's more information in your bulletin right in front of you. You should have got that when you came in. That's from 6 to 9 right here at the church. There's opportunities for kids to be here and have some fun too. So just a great time to come out and have some fellowship and fun as women. And then there's also the retreat coming up. And that's not happening until September 29th through October 1st. So it may sound like, why are we talking about it so much now? Well, they really fill up fast, and you have to get signed up. The deadline for your registration and full payment this year is on August 13th with the way that they're organizing it. So ladies, if you're interested in that, we've been sending 30 or 40 women to that every year. Make sure you sign up, talk to the church office, we'll get you registered. You can also register for that online as well, so look for that. Men, we're not leaving you out either. There's some great events coming up there we've been talking about. There's a baseball game on Thursday, July 27th. Just a great time for some food fellowship and hanging out and having some fun as guys. You can sign up for that in the lobby. And then save the date, there's also a camping weekend coming up August 18th through 20th. You can sign up there, talk to Scott Hasman, who organizes a lot of the men's events. He can get you more details about that as well. But make sure you're aware, and there are definitely some opportunities to get plugged in and get connected this summer. We also have some great things coming up connected to a Stand Strength Ministry, which is one of our local ministry partners, and Shrek, Terry Million. So here we have a golf outing coming up. One of our small groups and the Stand Strength Foundation has been organizing this as a way to bless them and reach out and get together and have some fun in support of them as well. So we've got Jeff Moore and Joe Robbins. You guys around here? Joe's back there. He'll be out in the lobby. If you're interested in that or want to sign up, have questions, see them out in the lobby today. We want to definitely get more and more people involved in that over the next few weeks, get that sign up happening, and we'll look forward to that. It's going to be a great day. I think there's a lunch and dinner provided, a lot of fun on the golf course as well, and we get to bless one of our own ministry partners as well throughout that day. And then another thing that Terry Shrek is doing is he's helping to lead a 6-week evangelism study, which is just going to help people learn how to share their faith. You want to know what evangelism is? It's really just being equipped to be able to share your faith in God and your faith in Jesus effectively with other people. And Terry's passionate about that. He's been training people to do that for years now, and we've invited him to come in. We've already got over a dozen people signed up for that, and that's starting this Tuesday from 6:30 to 8:30, and we don't want to leave anyone out. So if you're interested in that, you've got Tuesdays free the next 6 weeks. I encourage you to jump in and get involved. I've been really encouraged by the response we've gotten. Normally we take a lot of our groups off over the summer, and we said, we're going to try some of these equipping groups over the summer, some shorter term things. And we've had about 30 guys coming on Thursday nights for a 6-week men's study. We've got 16 couples coming on Wednesday nights for a marriage study. We're doing a great time just learning and growing together. We've got a good response for this too. So I think we'll continue to do that with some smaller chunks, give you opportunities to connect and grow over the summer. And I'm excited. So if you're interested in that, it starts this Tuesday. We don't want to miss out there. One of our people, Lance Red, has gone and participated in one of Terry's seminars at another church, and he said it was just phenomenal. He's been wanting to see this happen here for a while. So if you want to know more about it, you can talk to Lance as well, and then you can share some of his heart and experience with that. One thing that we haven't talked about a lot is we have a baptism opportunity coming up, and we've set that for Sunday, July 30th. We've got a few different options as far as the locations. We'll get you more details on that when we finalize that. We want to make sure the date's out there and that people understand the significance and the opportunity that's here. We definitely have a number of people who have already expressed interest in being baptized. And baptism isn't that time when you place your faith in Christ. It's that time when you just are making a statement, a public statement that I have a relationship with Jesus Christ. I am a follower of Jesus. We say it's an outward sign of an inward reality. It's something that shows what's already taken place in your heart when you've placed your faith in Jesus Christ as your Lord and your Savior, and your desire to follow Him your whole life. And baptism is just a powerful symbol of uniting ourselves with Jesus Christ. And we baptize people by dunking them under the water. It's a powerful symbol of being united with Christ in His death, and then being raised to a new life in Christ as well. And so we do that 2 or 3 times a year. We'll do it as often as we need to as people come to faith in Christ and are ready for that step. But a lot of people like to do that during the summer. We can get outside and get in a local lake or swimming pool and doing it a little differently than our little hot tub here on the stage. And so wanted to let everyone know this is probably going to be the main baptism opportunity for the summer outside. So if you're interested in doing that, make sure that we have your name. You can check off on the Tear Off tab of your program or contact the church office. We'll be following up with those of you that have already told us if you're interested and trying to nail that down and get everybody ready to go. So that's going to be an exciting time to celebrate coming up here in just a few weeks. So those are some things that are happening I want to make sure you're aware of. I'm going to go ahead and invite PD up, and he's going to give us an update and pray for us. And thank you. You look tired. That's what someone said this morning.
I keep saying I look tired. Quit saying that. I am tired. Welcome. Glad you're here with us at Oakwood today. If you're visiting, we're just glad that you chose to be here with us today. I heard that Michelle Holiday is here, so make sure that you say hello. Make sure that you welcome her back. And we're glad to have her with us today. This is the time of year where we get nervous. We've got big plans going to 2 services this fall, and you might look around and say, where's everybody at? Well, Don't forget, over 500 people now call Oakwood their home church, and we got to make way for all of us. And so September 17th is our launch of 2 services, so you got some time, get all your vacations in, then knock it off and get back here. You guys are here today, but I'm thankful you're here after a holiday weekend. I just want to say thank you to the church. My family's already up north on vacation. I stayed back just so I could come and face you today and say, you've got some awesome teams at this church. I was very proud to be able to, as a lead pastor, to go and spend time with 16 of us on this team that went to Chicago, inner city Chicago, Cicero specifically, and your teams met and exceeded all expectations. I am so proud of them. You've got young leaders in the making. You've got young leaders right now who lead, and they did a marvelous job. We ran 2 things. We became part of a larger group. There was 3 other youth groups there. I think around 55 of us, roughly, maybe 55 of us total. And our team split into 2 teams. One team stayed at Cicero Inner City Impact and ran the day camp from 12:30 to 4:30 every day. And then the other half of our group went over to a park in nearby Inner City Impact in Cicero, and we ran a soccer camp for kids kindergarten through 6th grade. And your teams did a marvelous job. I'm telling you, you might look at some of these teenage boys and wonder what in the world's going on with that, but I got to watch them get down low to a kindergarten girl and teach them how to kick a soccer ball. So sweet, so patient, so gentle and kind. Your teams did an excellent job showing the love of Jesus to these kids. And I saw great things. Tabitha came to me during the week, said she talked to a girl who said she didn't have a Bible. She's been asking her family for a Bible. Her family couldn't get her a Bible. Tabitha said, would it be all right if I gave her a Bible? I said, no. No, I didn't say no. I said, yes. I said, yes, that's a great thing that you, your kids are attentive and caring. And so we got a Bible, and she signed and gave it to this girl. And lots of stories like that. We had our teens talking to some kids, found out they were in some hard situations in their homes, and our kids talked to the leaders of Inner City Impact to make sure that they got help. I'm telling you, church, I know you all can't go with us. I wish you all could have, but I can tell you as your pastor, your teams did a great job. I would take them anywhere. And so be proud of them. You can see them today. Not all of them are here because they're young, but they're tired too. But those who are on that trip that are here this morning, would you just stand so they can see you, eyeball you a little bit? Good job. I want to thank you personally too. You guys just loved on that team by praying for us last Sunday. You prayed for our health. We stayed healthy for the most part. There was some stomach issues, but not terrible. We did stay hydrated, and you know what? The van worked all week. We borrowed a van from a church in Flint, and it was giving us problems the day we left, but after we prayed and left, it never acted up once again. So our safety was there, and you guys sent us with tons of water and snacks and juice and muffins and breakfast stuff. It was hilarious because my room, Julie and I's room, became a shopping center, and every night we'd let the kids come shopping and take their snacks for the night, and then in the morning we'd give them their breakfast, and they were never without. The good news is we worked so hard, I think I lost 15 pounds. The bad news is we had Chicago pizza 3 times, I gained 30. Oh my goodness, but it was good. You know it's good when even a guy from Chicago says, I'm sick of Chicago pizza at this point. But it was wonderful. Thank you. Thank you to those of you who are praying. That's no small thing. If you prayed for us all week, we certainly appreciate you. If you gave money for that trip, all the bills haven't come in, all the gas, but I think we're going to be covered. I think it should work out. And thank you, thank you, thank you. Lives were impacted for Jesus in the city. So thank you for that. Let me pray for you, and then I'm going to leave and head north. It's my vacation. Let's pray. God, thank you for this church. What a great church. Thankful for the history of this church. God, this church has been doing good things and serving you for many, many years. Faithful leaders that have taught the Word and showed a desire to live out that Word. And so, God, we're thankful that we are continuing this legacy of Oakwood Community Church, God, and thankful for these teams. God, the effort they gave this week, the care, the servanthood, the proper attitudes and respect. God, they were shining stars amongst 55 teens. They just shined as students prepared and ready to serve So God bless them as they realize that missions is not an event, it's a lifestyle. God, I pray that these teens would continue that attitude of caring and serving spirit throughout their year. May they go into Soul Fire and just make that great, God, and I pray that they would be energized to reach people for you. God, may our church see those teens and be energized to reach our community for you, Jesus. God, again, thank you. Give us rest. Give the people here today your word. God, may you be glorified. May these people be edified and Satan glorified. In Jesus' name, amen.
Let's stand and worship this morning.
Thousand times I've
to have a seat. We're going to take up our offering. Ushers, if you could come forward. Let's bow our heads and praise. Father God, we praise you this morning. We're so grateful to be here in your presence. Thank you for this church, for us coming together for your glory, God. And I pray as we take up this offering this morning that it's for your glory, and that it's with grateful hearts that we give to you today, God. We love you. In your precious name we pray. Amen. and we can trust who you are, God.
Tis so sweet to trust in Jesus, just to take Him at His word, just to rest upon His promise, just to know thus saith the Lord. Jesus, how I trust Him, how I proved Him o'er and o'er. Jesus, precious Jesus, oh, for grace to trust Him Oh, how sweet to trust in Jesus, just to trust His cleansing blood, just in simple faith to plunge me 'neath the healing cleansing blood. Jesus, how I trust Him, how I proved Him o'er and o'er. Jesus, precious Jesus, oh, for grace to trust Him I'm so glad I learned to trust Thee, precious Jesus, Savior, friend. And I know that Thou art with me, will be with me to the end. Jesus, how I trust Him, how I proved Him o'er and o'er. Jesus, precious Jesus, oh, for grace to trust Him
You can clap. Clap for the Lord and clap for the team. Thank you guys so much for leading us before the throne this morning. Thank you, Mandy, in particular. I was originally scheduled to lead worship this morning, and then I found out Petey was going to be gone, and he needed me to step in and preach, and that's really a lot to do in one day. I've done it before. So thank you, Mandy. And she's serving today after being out of town on vacation, and then has a double eye infection this morning, and up here just giving her heart, using the gifts to serve the Lord. So thank you all. It's great to be with you guys this morning. I'm excited about where we're going here in just a bit, but just to catch you up, if you weren't here last week with the holiday, I know a lot of people were traveling. Pastor Don was in here just a bit ago, gave an update, and he headed out. He's going on vacation for a little bit this week, and he's deserving some rest. So let's make sure we give him that this week. If you guys have anything you need, somebody in the hospital, questions, concerns, things that we can help out, contact me, contact the church office. Let's try to give him some peace and quiet this week and enjoy the lake, some time with his family, and some well-deserved rest if we can. I definitely appreciate that. Normal office hours, Tuesday through Friday, from 8 to 5, or 9 to 5. There might be a little bit of variations to that because Fran is also gone this week too. So just want to encourage you, if you're coming in this week, maybe call ahead of time, just in case I'm out for a meeting or Melissa's not here. She's going to pick up some extra hours to help cover for Fran, but there may not be people here in the total office hours this week. We want to make sure we're available to you. So call ahead, call me and myself. We'll definitely make sure to take care of any needs that are there. So last week we kicked off this new series, God the King. We're working through the Gospel Project and working through sections of Scripture. We jumped into 1 Samuel this next week, and Pastor Don laid out a message that kind of set the tone for where we're going over the next 5 or 6 weeks, and in particular set the tone for where I get to go this week and next week. And he talked about the fact that Israel, at the end of kind of Samuel's reign, Israel was at a point where they were demanding a king. They wanted to be like all the other nations around them. They wanted a ruler that they could look to. They wanted someone that they could point to as their king, their leader, their ruler, and they were demanding this. And God and Samuel were saying, this is not what you need. God is your king. God's the perfect king, ruling and reigning over you. He's the one you look to for leadership. And they're warning him that people are saying, you know what, we still want what we want. We want a man to lead us. And God eventually relents and tells Samuel, you know, this isn't what's best for them, but give them what they're asking for. And so we saw that there's sometimes a high cost that comes along, right, with sin and rebellion. And he talked about that tension between having God as our king or putting ourselves as the king of our lives. And that's something we're going to be wrestling with over the next few weeks as we go through this series. And today, I get to talk a little bit about Saul, King Saul, who was the first king of Israel. And next week we'll talk about King David. And PD doesn't, he was complaining last week because I got Saul and David. Those are some pretty nice topics to talk about. Nice in the sense that there's a lot packed into them. And last time I think we joked that he left me with the topic of divorce. And so this is a lot more fun to jump into Saul and David and compare and contrast and look at what that means to look for a man after God's own heart. And so I'm excited about where we're going, but he's going to give a few messages on David as well. And as we get into this, I just want to make sure to give you kind of a quick update of where we've been going. So 1 Samuel 8 is where PD was at last week. That's when Israel demanded a king. And right after that, you get 1 Samuel 9, and that's where Saul is chosen as king. And we're told that he's a tall and handsome man. He stands out among the crowd as someone to look up to as a leader, an obvious choice of someone to lead the kingdom as king. And then in Samuel 10, that's when Saul's anointed as king, and Samuel comes and pours oil over his head, and it says that God puts a new heart in him, and then he's brought before the people as their new king. And he stands head and shoulders above all of them, and people are cheering for him. And he's afraid, he's not sure what's going on, but he's chosen, and now he's anointed as king. And then in Samuel 11, he leads the people to victory. And people were afraid, they're all hiding in caves, and Saul has his first victory, and his first victorious moment as king, and he kind of gains the trust of the people more and more. And early on, you see lots of different things with Saul. You see, what signs of maybe humility, signs of care for his father. You see signs of fear and respect for the Lord, wanting to do things right early on in Saul's life. But it takes a downward spiral from there. And we see just a few chapters, and it's really years of his life. But then you get into chapter 13 and 14, and where we're going to focus on today in chapter 15, and you just see this downward spiral in his heart and his life, where he's trusting in himself. He's doing things his way. He's rejecting the Lord's ways. He's not obeying wholeheartedly. And in the midst of that, we've got a lot of lessons that we can learn. And you think about us as we choose leaders in our culture and country today, or not just even politically, but as we look around, from leaders in social clubs to leaders in our family, different things like that, we often do the same thing the Israelites do. We look for the people that are the obvious choices. We look at what? Outward appearance. And we look for things like power and prestige and maybe deep pockets and all these other things that we tend to look for. And people that don't have those types of things in our culture, we pretty much have no chance of being elected to the highest ranking government office, right? Because these are things that we value. And in the midst of that, sometimes we put so much expectations on these people, but they're flawed. We're all flawed. And that's kind of what we're going to be looking at today as we get into looking at this situation with Saul. And I left my clicker back there. You guys see that?
No, but I'll help you.
Okay, if you can click through, that would be great. I'm not sure what happened to that. I thought I brought it up here earlier. Go ahead and give me that. So we're talking today about the hang-ups of man's heart. All right, and no matter how great a leader seems on the outside, reality is all of us have some hang-ups in our hearts. And we're going to learn from some of Saul's examples, some things maybe to watch out for today a little bit. The big idea is this. Go ahead and give me the next one if you would. Pride and rebellion lead to ruin and rejection. And that's what we see in Saul's life, the example of pride and rebellion lead to ruin and rejection. I think Mark is bringing me my magic wand, so I'm going to try to click through these things as well. And I think we're going to see that pretty clearly. We're going to see what that looks like in our lives, in our lives today and eternally as well. Let's make sure we got it. There we go. And then the memory verse that we have for you guys each week, we're giving you one of those that ties into the theme. I decided to go outside of 1 Samuel because Proverbs 16:18 is just a classic verse that we all should have in our heart. Pride goes before destruction and a haughty spirit before the fall. Saul ends up being kind of an epitome of that verse as we look at him today, and you'll see even as we go forward, Saul isn't ousted from kingship right away. He continues this downward spiral that leads to ruin and rejection for him as well. And what we would see in these chapters is the snapshots of Saul and his reign over Israel, and it's not really a pretty picture. And so we come in today, and this may not be that uplifting, inspiring message, but the good news is we have next week, and we get to look at kind of a contrast to that. But today, we get to kind of take some warning signs, look at some warning signs that we need to be on the lookout for in our own lives. And the reality is that all of us have a little bit of Saul in us. No matter who we are, no matter where we're at in life, all of us have a little bit of Saul in us, David included. We're going to look at next week. And so today, I just encourage each of us to be humble, to open our hearts before the Lord, to just be open to what He would have for us, so that we can watch out for some of those stumbling blocks that Saul gives us when it comes to pride and rebellion. So let's pray, and we'll dig into it a little bit. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for your word. Thank you that it speaks to us today. Written thousands of years ago, and we look at these characters, and sometimes the story seems so unbelievable, but it's your word and it's true, and we see your power at work through frail and sinful and rebellious people. We see your power at work through people who are full of faith and trust and obedience in you too. And over the next couple of weeks, as we dig into your word, these few chapters in 1 Samuel, we pray your Spirit would just make your word connect with us. Help us to see in us maybe some of the things that we need to look out for, so that we can keep you as the center of our lives and the kingdom of God. So we love you and praise in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, so we're going to look at, in your notes if you want to follow along, there's 5 kind of warning signs of a wayward heart that we're going to look at as we walk through this. And we're going to take a few different chunks and read Scripture as we go through today. And the first one is this. We think our ways are better than His ways. So we're going to see this in 1 Samuel 15, 1 through 9. So let's read that together. It says, "And Samuel said to Saul, 'The Lord sent me to anoint you king over His people Israel. Now therefore listen to the words of the Lord. Thus says the Lord of hosts, I have noted what Amalek did to Israel in opposing them on the way when they came out of Egypt. Now go and strike Amalek and devote to destruction all that they have. Do not spare them, but kill both man and woman, child and infant, ox and sheep, camel and donkey.' So Saul summoned the people and numbered them at Telem, 200,000 men on foot and 10,000 men of Judah. And Saul came to the city of Amalek and lay in wait in the valley. Then Saul said to the Kenites, 'Go, depart, go down from among the Amalekites, lest I destroy you with them. For you showed kindness to all the people of Israel when they came up out of Egypt.' So the Kenites departed from among the Amalekites. And Saul defeated the Amalekites from Havilah as far as Shur, which is east of Egypt. And he took Agag, the king of the Amalekites, alive and devoted to destruction all the people with the edge of the sword." All right, so here's this picture, and it's not necessarily a fun picture for us to have to look at. You know, it can get violent, it can get ugly in the Old Testament when we look at some of the things that took place. And the reality is that this is a classic picture of this first lesson. That we think our ways are better than His ways. So think about what Saul's doing here in the midst of this situation. So he's king. And he's been given a command by God. And he's already disobeyed. He's already been told pretty much the kingdom's going to be taken away from him. He did things like a few chapters back, a few years before this, he had offered a sacrifice. He got impatient, waiting for Samuel to show up, and he offered a sacrifice, and that wasn't what he was supposed to do. And so at that point, he was already kind of being rejected by God as king, but God continued to give him chances to obey. And so God gave him some very clear instructions, very specific, not really getting around it. Devote everyone to destruction. And we look at that, and our first thought is, whoa, why would God command that? And so we pause for just a moment and think about why would God say that. And it says specifically women and infants and children, and that's a hard thing for us to even imagine. It's only happened a couple times before this. We saw it in Deuteronomy and Exodus as we were teaching through some of those sections there. And the reality is here, it's hard for us to imagine that. And so we start to question and doubt, why would God do this? Isn't he cruel? And that's not what we do. But the reality is, God is sovereign. He's all-knowing. He knows what's coming. He knows the evil of the people. He knows the influence of these people. And so a couple of different times in Scripture, he gives this command to wipe them out because he knows if they don't do that, that influence is going to come back to bite them. And that's exactly what happened. The same situation happened when we look back at Exodus and Deuteronomy. They were told to wipe out the Canaanites, and they didn't obey ultimately. And what God said would happen, that they would be led astray from following him. That exact same thing happened. He knew the end game. He knew if they weren't wiped out, that God's people would walk away from him because they'd be influenced by these evil nations, these evil people. And so that's kind of the same situation that we're at here. We've got the Amalekites, and God says, these people are so evil, their influence is so vast and great, we need to wipe them out. Because if you don't, it's going to become a negative influence on you that's going to lead you to do the evil things that they're doing. And so God gives them these clear instructions. And what do we see happens there in verse 8? That he killed everyone except for Agag. And we find out later too that they didn't kill all the sheep and the oxen, and they actually plundered, which God had told them not to do. But Saul's flaw in the midst of this, and the Israelites too along with him, is this right here. We think our ways are better than his ways. And I think we all can be guilty of that. We start to second guess that, well, God, should I really destroy all of them? I think that's what they're thinking there. Why should we destroy all the best of the sheep? Let's take those and take some of these resources for ourselves, because that'd be better for you, build up your kingdom. We don't have some of these things, so let's take some of the best of this stuff, right, and keep that. That sounds like a better plan than what you're saying, God. So, let's go that route. And we rationalize things, and we make excuses, and we do these things ourselves. And so I think we can be guilty of the same things. Essentially, they're saying they think they know better than God. And the reality is, in the midst of all this, did they obey fully? No, they didn't. And the reality is that incomplete obedience is the same as disobedience in God's eyes. And we used to tell this to our kids at a young age as we were trying to get them to understand the concept of obedience. We told them, and we taught them, we kind of repeat this over and over, that obedience is all the way, right away with a good attitude. Not half the way in a half-hearted attitude, but right away, all the way with a good attitude is kind of what obedience is. And I think that's what God expects of us. When he gives us a command, he gives us the details, he expects us to follow through with all of it, whatever that might be. And that's what he expected of Saul and the Israelites during this time. And they didn't fully obey him. They did what they wanted to do. Now, how many of you, and feel free to raise your hands here, how many of you would say out loud that I want my will to be done, not God's will to be done? I want my will to be done, not God's will to be done. I got half of an honest person over here putting his hand up a little bit, right? Guess what I'm guilty of and you're guilty of is your actions and your choices. We're guilty of saying that same thing. Something we would hardly ever say out loud. I want my will to be done, not God's will to be done. I can't imagine myself saying that out loud. But I've said it with my choices. I've said it with my attitudes. I've said it with my actions. And I venture to guess that all of you have at some point as well. And I don't say that to make you feel guilty, but the reality is that we have this sinful pride that's inside of us. There's a little bit of Saul in all of us, and we have to watch out. We think our ways are better than his ways, and that is a huge hang-up, and it's something that's a warning sign, and that's thinking that we need to watch out for. The reminder here that I want to have for all of us is that we serve a trustworthy king. When we struggle, we want to be king, we want to be the one in charge, we want to do things our way, but we serve a trustworthy king. And when he calls us to do something, whether that's to give up something or to go somewhere or to do something specific, we can trust in him. That whatever he's calling us to do, he's going to enable us to do. And that there's a reason for it, and it's important. And that we obey him with our whole heart, and obey him fully, not just partway or half-heartedly. And so that's the first warning sign that I think we need to watch out for from Saul, is that we got to watch out, that we don't do things our way instead of his way. Another one we see in the next few verses. I'm not sure what I did. Judy, can
I'm
you
sorry.
play again on that for me? Hit escape and hit play again. Alright. Here's the next one. We honor ourselves instead of God. And we see this in the next few verses here in the chapter. Let's continue on. In verse 10, it says, "The word of the Lord came to Samuel. I regret that I have made Saul king, for he has turned back from following me and has not performed my commandments." And Samuel was angry, and he cried to the Lord all night. And Samuel rose early to meet Saul in the morning. And it was told to Samuel, "Saul came to Carmel, and behold, he set up a monument for himself. And he turned and passed on and went to Gilgal." So here's the situation. Saul went out, did what God called him to do half-heartedly, did not fully obey the Lord. And he comes back and he's celebrating, right? And what's he do to celebrate? Does he go to the temple to worship? Does he gather people together to pray and give thanks? No, he goes and he sets up a monument to himself. And that's another glimpse into Saul's wayward heart. In the midst of all this, and the victory that God has just given them over the people, even though they didn't fully obey, he comes back and all he's concerned about is his own glory. Man, look what I did. Let's go set up a monument to this. Often in the Old Testament we saw them setting up altars where they would come and offer sacrifices and worship God. And he showed up and he gave them victory, or he showed up and provided in some miraculous way. Here we see to Saul's heart that he is honoring himself and not God. And I think that's something that we've got to watch out for as well. One of my favorite bands the last 5-10 years has been 10th Avenue North. Love some of the music, and it's been encouraging to me during different stages of life. And I follow them on social media every now and then, and just this last week I saw a post from one of the guys there. And I like what he said a lot. I'm just going to read it to you. He said, "A few years back, we were praying at a festival set, just like the one from last night. God convicted me of the prayer that we were praying. It was confusing because it felt like a very noble prayer. I was asking God to use our band. But God, as he does, gently tapped my shoulder and whispered, 'What if I went to use other bands?' In that moment, I realized I wasn't asking God to use our band. I was asking him to use our band more than the other bands. I was being used by God. So now I no longer pray for God to use us. I simply pray for him to move. That way, when he decides to use someone else, I don't feel the need to compete. Rather, I'm able to celebrate that God is moving." Last night, the Spirit was doing what he does, and we were humbled to play our part. And I appreciate what he says there, because so often I don't think we even realize that we're seeking to honor ourselves. Our hearts are wicked and deceitful, and we don't realize so often that we may think we're serving God, we're doing something for his glory, for his honor, but in our heart of hearts, there's something else back there. Or really, we're still seeking some honor and glory for ourselves. And I appreciate his humility and his willingness to be sensitive to the Spirit, pointing that out, tapping me on the shoulder, as he said, saying, "You know what? You're not just asking for God's glory, you want yourself to be glorified above all these other people." And that's not what it's about. And so we need to constantly watch out for that. I've certainly had to watch out for that in my own life. I can remember that situation reminded me. My wife and I met Back in the summer of '96, we went to a mission project with Campus Crusade for Christ, and she was going to one college, I was going to another. We went there for 3 months during the summer for growth and for worship and for discipleship and leadership training. We met there. But during the midst of that summer, I was kind of new to playing guitar at that time. I had been playing along with some of my friends in college and just doing it really for my own devotional, worship time with the Lord. And I brought my guitar with me that summer. And my hope was just that they had a big wraparound deck and porch on that, and so I'd just sit out there during my times with the Lord, and I'd sing some songs at worship as I read the Word, and it was a great time. I loved it. But they also were doing times of worship a few times a week. They had a band that was gathering together, and they saw me play, and they're like, "Oh, can you come play the band with us? That'd be great." And I'm like, "Sure, why not?" Didn't think much about it, right? But I could tell those first couple of weeks, as I did that, I kind of felt the same thing. God was tapping me on the shoulder. He's like, "You're up here, you're enjoying more the spotlight of being up front than you are worshiping me." And so I had to step back and say, "Guys, this is what I came here to do this summer, and I'm feeling like I'm doing this for the wrong reasons." And so I need to step back, and I just kept not going on the rest of the summer, playing guitar out in the corner by myself, worshiping the Lord. And I think there's been many times throughout life where God's had to convict me. It was exposed that there's some other motive there that maybe I wasn't even aware of. I thought I was doing it for the right motive, doing it for the right reason, for God's glory. But my heart wants to honor myself over Him so often, and I've got to watch out for that. I think most of us could probably find other ways that we personally could relate to that as well. So the reality is that we serve a jealous king. And we've talked about this idea of a jealous God a couple of times as we've gone through the Old Testament. So remember that we think of jealousy as a negative thing. But when it comes to this and God wanting His glory and God wanting to be king, not us putting ourselves as king or not us putting something else as Lord of our lives, it's a good thing. God, just like I wouldn't want my spouse with someone else and she wouldn't want me with someone else, and that's a good thing. There's a good level of jealousy there where we want to protect that covenant, that relationship we have. God wants to do the same thing in our lives, and He knows it's for our good that we seek His glory and we put Him first and we have Him as the king and not ourselves as the king. And so we need to remember that we serve a jealous king who longs for us to know Him and bring Him glory, not because He's some unhealthy person that's just constantly demanding glory, glory, glory. He's the only one that's worthy of it. He's the only one that's praiseworthy. He's perfect. He's holy. He has our best in mind, and that's Him. Our best is Him, and keeping Him on the throne. So that's the second one there. We tend to honor ourselves instead of God. Third one we see in the next little section of Scripture here, let's read through that, and that is we spend this story. 1 Samuel 15, starting in verse 13. It says, "And Samuel came to Saul, and Saul said to him, Blessed be you to the Lord. I have performed the commandment of the Lord." And Samuel said, "What then is this bleating of the sheep in my ears and the lowing of the oxen that I hear?" Saul said, "They have brought them from the Amalekites, for the people spared the best of the sheep and of the oxen to sacrifice to the Lord your God, and the rest we have devoted to destruction." Then Samuel said to Saul, "Stop. I will tell you what the Lord said to me this night." And he said to him, "Speak." And Samuel said, "Though you are little in your own eyes, are you not the head of the tribes of Israel? The Lord anointed you king over Israel. And the Lord sent you on a mission and said, 'Go, devote to destruction the sinners, the Amalekites, and fight against them until they are consumed.' Why then did you not obey the voice of the Lord? Why did you pounce on the spoil and do what was evil in the sight of the Lord?" And Saul said to Samuel, "I have obeyed the voice of the Lord. I have gone on the mission with which the Lord sent me. I have brought Agag, the king of Amalek, and I have devoted the Amalekites to destruction. But the people took the spoil, the sheep and the oxen, the best of the things devoted to destruction, to sacrifice to the Lord your God in Gilgal." And so here we have this situation, and Samuel's finally come, and Saul went, set up his monuments. Samuel comes, finds him, and confronts him. Samuel knows that he did not fully obey what God had commanded him to do. And he's confronting him here. And what do we see from Saul? What's his response? He says it a couple times, "I have obeyed," right? And I think that just shows the self-deception that's going on here. One, he either truly thinks that he's obeyed, or he's spinning the story, trying to rationalize it. And so we see it kind of from there move on in different ways. And so he says, I have obeyed, but the people, they didn't fully obey. They brought some of the oxen back, right? And then later on, we say, oh, we brought them back to do what? To sacrifice them to the Lord. And it's the idea that he's spinning the story. He keeps changing the story, making it sound a little bit better, making it sound like there's a heart to honor God in the midst of it. When really, it was all about disobedience. It was all about selfishness. And I think that we can do that so often. How many of you, as parents, have found yourself like Samuel? You start correcting them on something, and then they start spinning the story and telling you all the reasons and rationalizing it, and you're like, stop! Just stop! Don't go any farther. You're just going to dig the hole deeper, right? I've been there with kids, and you know what? I'm sure my parents have been there with me at different points. We are really good at spinning the stories. And I think first we spin the story to ourselves. And maybe that's what Saul's doing. He convinced himself that he had obeyed and done what the Lord had commanded, even though he didn't fully obey. I have obeyed the Lord, right? And we can convince ourselves that we've done the right thing. Or we start to rationalize it away. Well, we had to do this because of that, or we start to spiritualize it. Well, I did that for you, God. I'm doing that. I did that so we could come back and sacrifice to you and bring you honor and glory. And we can all be guilty of those types of things. Spinning the story. It's not just the politicians. It's not just the news media that's spinning the story. We can do that as well. And we get a glimpse into that in Saul's life. What we need to remember is that we serve an all-knowing God. Psalm 139, where can I go from your presence? Where can I flee from your spirit? God knows everything. He knows our hearts. He knows the motives of our hearts. He knows what we did and why we did it and where we did it and how we did it. And so no matter how much we want to lie to ourselves or lie to him or lie to somebody else, he knows. And we got to realize that we serve an all-knowing God. And he's one that's trustworthy. And when he confronts us with something, we need to respond with a different attitude than the defensiveness. Man, that's something that I continue to work on in my own life. My wife speaks to me and says, hey, you kind of reacted angrily there. You should have probably handled it a little bit differently. Man, I wish I would just constantly say, you know what, honey, you're right. Thank you so much for pointing that out to me. Was that my first reaction most of the time? No, she's not here this morning. But I can honestly say, no, it's not. It is more and more than it used to be. But man, it's so easy to put up walls and be defensive and rationalize. Well, if they weren't acting this way, I wouldn't have got, we do it. We spin this story, we don't see our own sin, we don't respond to correction with humility. And we see that with Saul as well. Fourth thing, we offer sacrifices without submission. And so this is right after what we just read, and Saul's saying, hey, we brought all these best sheep and oxen and everything back so we could offer sacrifices to God. And here's Samuel's response. Samuel said, verse 22, has the Lord a great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices, as in obeying the voice of the Lord? Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to listen than the fat of rams. For rebellion is as the sin of divination, and presumption is an iniquity and idolatry. Because you have rejected the word of the Lord, he has also rejected you from being king. And so, Saul is spiritualizing this, saying, hey, we brought these back, we're going to offer sacrifices. And Samuel's just kind of playing around and says, even if that's true, even if that's what you did, which you didn't, that was not the heart behind it, but even if that's what you did, God doesn't care about your sacrifices if you're not obeying him wholeheartedly. And so I think that's something for us to watch out for too. It is so easy in today's day and age to do the Christian thing. We can give, we can show up to church, we can be involved, we can serve, we can do different things, and we can see those types of things as spiritual sacrifices that we're making to the Lord. And we can do that and kind of compartmentalize it over here on the side of our life and make sure that area is going well. And hey, God's happy because I'm reading my Bible every now and then. I'm showing up to church every week. I'm on this team and on that team. And I'm doing all these spiritual activities. And these are sacrifices that I'm doing to prove to God that and please Him and prove to Him that I love Him. And obviously, those things are good things if we're doing them with the right heart, out of the love and response to God. But so often I think we can do those things just thinking, hey, I'm trying to keep God happy with me. Or this is what God expects of me. And what God wants for us is to be the king. He wants to be the king of our lives. And if He's the king of our lives and we love Him and want to obey Him with our whole heart, those things are going to happen as well. We're going to serve others. We're going to use our gifts for God's kingdom. We're going to give. We're going to be a part of the church family where we can encourage and be encouraged and grow in our faith. All those things are going to happen. But the question is, are they just sacrifices and activities that we're doing to try to appease or please God? Or is that a response to, He's our king, and He's worthy of it all, and I want to live my life for Him? Two totally different things. My son and I have been going through the discipleship series for teens, and we're starting some discipleship groups. I've got a meeting with some guys here after church today to talk about what it might mean to start doing some one-on-one mentoring and discipleship, really helping people to get a strong foundation in their faith. And my son has been one who has been a believer for many years, but we're going through now as he's heading into teen years and going through some of these discipleship studies. And we've been looking at the Sermon on the Mount. And this last week as we were studying through, just great discussion about this very topic. And as you look at the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus is teaching His followers what it means to be truly a follower of God, to make Christ center in their lives. And He's also kind of combating the teachings of the religious leader of His day, which was all about legalism and doing all kinds of spiritual sacrifices and actions, to prove your worth and your devotion to God. And Jesus is saying, that's not what it's all about. These people do all this stuff on the outside, but on the inside they're rotten. They don't love me and they don't know me. And we see in there very clearly, that Jesus says at one point, He says, not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but the one who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. And He even points out in there, the people are saying, well, Lord, we prophesied in your name, we did this in your name, we did that in your name. And He's saying, get away from me because I don't know you. And so from the Old Testament all the way through the New Testament, it's possible to do all kinds of Christianese types of things and do all kinds of spiritual sacrifices without having a heart that kneels down and bows down to God and wants to obey Him and please Him and love Him. And so we got to watch out for that. As we do our spiritual activities, let's make sure we're doing them out of a heart of submission and out of a heart of love to the Lord, not trying to just please Him or jump through hoops or spiritualize things in our lives. So we need to button. Help me get there, Jody. Sorry, I'm supposed to be the tech guy around here, right? I don't know what's going on. So the next thing we got to remember is that we serve a holy and a just King. He's perfect. He's holy. And He's smart enough to know if we're just doing things to go through the motions. And because He's a holy and a just King, He's going to deal with that sin. He's going to deal with that rebellion. He doesn't want us just to go through the hoops of church club membership. He wants us to submit fully to Him as our Lord and Savior. And He's a holy, just King. We've got to watch out for. All right, we're going to get to 5. We'll wrap this up.
We got it.
All right, here we go. Last one, we'll look at 24 through 34, the end of this chapter. And I think what we see here is that among the warning sign of the word part is that we fear people more than we fear God. Saul said to Samuel, I have sinned, for I have transgressed the commandment of the Lord and your words, because I feared the people and obeyed their voice. Now therefore, please pardon my sin, return with me that I may worship the Lord. And Samuel said to Saul, I will not return with you, for you have rejected the word of the Lord, and the Lord has rejected you from being king over Israel. As Samuel turned to go away, Saul seized the skirt of his robe, and it tore. And Samuel said to him, the Lord has torn the kingdom of Israel from you this day, and has given it to a neighbor of yours, who is better than you. And also the glory of Israel will not lie or have regret, for he is not a man that he should have regret. Then he said, I have sinned. Yet honor me now before the elders of my people and before Israel, and return with me that I may bow before the Lord your God. So Samuel turned back after Saul, and Saul bowed before the Lord. Then Samuel said, Bring here to me Agag, king of Amalekites. And Agag came to him cheerfully. Agag said, Surely the bitterness of death is past. And Samuel said, As your sword has made women childless, so your mother be childless among women. And Samuel hacked Agag to pieces before the Lord of Gilgal. Then Samuel went to Ramah, and Saul went up to his house in Gibeah of Saul. And Samuel did not see Saul again until the day of his death. But Samuel grieved over Saul, and the Lord regretted that he was Lord and king of Israel. So pretty dramatic end, to the story of this picture, this moment in Saul's life. But very clearly we see another hang-up going on in Saul's heart here. And maybe we could sense this coming beforehand, but clearly it states here, and Saul even admits in his own words, I was afraid of the people. I disobeyed the command of the Lord. I was afraid of the people. I feared what they would do to me if I didn't do what they wanted to do. And so I gave in to them. And so it sounds like maybe he's confessing here and recognizing that. But as you keep going through this, I think there's some signs, but I don't know how genuine his confession is. One, he talks about who's he asking for forgiveness from. He's asking for forgiveness from Samuel right now. He hasn't necessarily confessed to the Lord and asked for forgiveness from the Lord, who's the one he sinned against and disobeyed. He's saying, forgive me. And then he's like, I want to go down and bow down before your God. Not necessarily my God. I want to go bow before your God. I want to do that. But then also we see, later on, where he says in verse 30, then he said, I have sinned, yet honor me now before the elders of my people and before Israel. He's begging Samuel to come back with him because he wants to save face with the people, right? He wants to go back and be honored before them. Even though he just sinned, he wants to go back and be honored and make sure that he saves face and that he, again, is lifted up before the people. He says he wants to bow down before the Lord, but all the signs point to he's still concerned about what the people think. And what's his standing here before the people going to be if they find out that he disobeyed and Samuel saying the kingdom is going to be ripped away from him. If they find this out, man, what's that going to mean for me as king? And that's what he's worried about. He fears people more than he fears God. I think that's something that's a common theme for all of us. We see in John, there's people that are new believers and religious leaders that actually came to faith in Christ at one point. And it says they believed in Jesus, but they basically didn't want to let it known because they feared the people more than they feared God. And I think that you see that all throughout Scripture where you can see people making choices because they're afraid of what other people will think. Instead of just doing the right thing, doing whatever it is that God's called them to do, and making sure that their fear is in the right place. And I love what Matthew says in Matthew 10, and I've got that here, 10, 26 to 28. And he's talking about being persecuted by people. It says, have no fear for them, and have no fear of them, for nothing is covered that will not be revealed, or hidden that will not be known. What I tell you in the dark, say in the light, and what you hear, whisper, proclaim in the housetops. And do not fear those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. Rather, fear him who can destroy both soul and body in hell. And I think that's the reality. Saul has missed that. He serves the all-powerful king, and so do we. We serve an all-powerful king. He is trustworthy. He is holy. He is sovereign. He's all-knowing. He's all-powerful. And we get so worried about the person sitting next to us and what they think about us instead of what God thinks of us. And it's a struggle. And it's a hang-up for many of us, and we've got to watch out for that. I think it's probably a good thing that PD left, because I'm going to read a little bit here from Frank Sinatra, and if I did, he'd probably just jump up here and start singing, if he was here. So PD, this is for you, even though he didn't stick around. Frank Sinatra, I think, sums it up pretty well with his song, My Way. And I'm not going to sing it, but I'm going to read the lyrics. It's kind of a slow one to sing. So I'm going to read parts of it here. You think about who's king of our lives. It says, I've lived a life that's full. I've traveled each and every highway. But much more than this, I did it My way. Regrets, I've had a few, but then again, too few to mention. I did what I had to do, and I saw it through without exemption. I planned each charted course, each careful step along the byway, and much more than this, I did it my way. Yes, there were times I'm sure you knew when I bit off more than I could chew, but through it all, when there was doubt, I ate it up and spit it out. I faced it all, and I stood tall, and I did it. I've loved, I've laughed, I've cried, I've had my fill, my share of losing, and now as tears subside, I find it also amusing to think that I did all that, and may I say, not in a shy way, oh no, not me, I did it my way. For what is man? What has he got? If not himself, then he has not. To say the things he truly feels, and not the word of one who kneels. The record shows I took the blows, and I did it my way. Right? I'll throw a little bit of something. Ultimately, that's what we do in our lives. And we've got to watch out for this, that sinful nature that we have. And I know, guys, this isn't an uplifting, encouraging message in the sense of, we're going to leave here, woohoo! Next week, it's going to be better, I promise. We're going to come back and we're going to see the other side of things, what it looks like to have a heart that is after God and pursuing God. But this is a valuable thing that we can't just gloss over and tune out, because all of us have some Saul in us. And that reality, that pride and rebellion lead to ruin and rejection is something we've got to wrestle with. One, ultimately, eternally, if we stay with that sense of pride and rejection and rebellion against God, and we don't submit to Him as King and make Him Lord of our lives and believe in Jesus, ultimately that's going to mean rejection. We need to fear the one who can kill both body and soul in hell. He's a holy God and a just God, and He's made a way for us to have a relationship with Him and have forgiveness and have the slate wiped clean through faith in Jesus Christ. It's not hard, but it's difficult. It's not hard, but it requires humble submission. And so as we look at that today, I just want to encourage you a couple things. Humbly submitting to God as King requires a couple things. I want us to encourage us to think about today. One, I must admit that I have a dark side. If P.D. was here, I'd have to have a D word there, so I must declare that I have a dark side. You willing to do that with me right now? Let's say it together. I have a dark side. The reality is we all do. There's a little bit of Saul in all of us. We've got to be willing to admit that. And then from there, we've got to diagnose and deal with our dark sides. And so that's what this message has really been about today. There's 5 warning signs that we see in Saul. We see the utter failure and ruin, the way that he disobeys, the way he seeks after his own way instead of God's way, the way he seeks his own honor instead of God's honor and glory, the way that he spins the story and tries to get rid of his own guilt. All of these things we see in Saul, we see the utter failure, we see where it's leading, and it just continues from here, folks. Many more years where Saul just continues down this downward spiral, and he basically becomes this totally insecure leader that fears for everyone else around and eventually ends up killing himself. Not a picture of a man after God's own heart who has a healthy relationship with God, a faith in God, and is following and obeying Him. It's a bleak picture. It doesn't have to be that way with us. God's given us His Word. He's given us some of these examples like Saul that we can learn from. And so we can turn to our own hearts and ask some of those questions. In what ways do I do these things? These warning signs that showed up with Saul, how did they show up with me? What can I learn from them? And just a few encouragements as we wrap up to think about what that might look like, or how can we best deal with our dark signs. And so often we don't see it ourselves. And I would encourage us first and foremost to be praying for the Spirit, to give us insight into our own hearts, to convict us, to be tapping us on the shoulder, and for us to be sensitive enough to feel those taps and to respond. So pray that the Spirit will give you insight into your heart and your motives. Second, surround yourselves with people who will speak the truth in love. We like to put people around us that will see only the good sides of us and they won't call us out when we don't act the way that we should, or when they see maybe some glimpses of pride and rebellion in our lives, we don't necessarily want people to point those things out to us, but we need it. Because we don't always see it ourselves. And so we need to surround ourselves with people that will speak the truth in a loving manner, that will care enough about you to kick you in the butt. Because we all need that. When they do that, here's that lesson I'm still in. Respond with teachable heart and correction. In the midst of correction, whether that's the Lord tapping you on the shoulder or someone else tapping you on the shoulder, and say, you know what, this concerns me, this isn't right. Respond with teachable heart. But ultimately it comes down to this, cultivating our love for God and our passion for His glory. Everything flows out of that. That's got to be the motivation and the heart behind it all. That we continue to realize we serve a holy, loving, merciful God who's also just and jealous. And He wants what's best for us. And we've got to make sure that we're keeping Him as King, like P.D. talked about at the end of the message last week, not putting ourselves as King. And so this has been a tough one, but hopefully you can go this week and maybe talk about that. Talk to your spouse, talk to your friend. If you see any of these warning signs showing up in my life, give them permission to speak into that. Maybe use this as a kind of a diagnosing week, and then confess those things to the Lord and take some of these steps that we can move forward and continue to seek God, put Him first, and glorify Him. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for your word. Thank you for pictures, Lord. And we've all been there before where, I've told my kids, Lord, I just want to save you some of the things, the failures and the mistakes that I made, so I'm trying to teach you these things. And that's what this picture of Saul is for us. It's a warning sign. It's an opportunity for us to learn so that we can avoid some of those same mistakes, Lord. And we thank you for your word and for these people. Even a hard one like today. Give us open hearts that will be able to and willing to receive correction from you, that you'll be able to come in and just continue to purify our hearts on deeper levels each and every day, each and every year as we walk with you, because we want to give you the glory that you're doing. We pray on this in Jesus' name.
Let's stand one more time as